It's where the people came to play. Don't let them transform you. Come and see what you've been missing on a little slice of heaven. It's the only.
So if you're watching this video, you might be in the process of building a house or going through the construction process, and that's kind of what we're going through now. We're under contract to purchase this home, and I wanted to share a couple tips. We're super excited about this house, but we're not gonna be parading around. We don't do a daily vlog. If you've seen and been to our channel before, you know we travel, we review RC cars and cool toys, and sometimes we build stuff. And I'm gonna do a series of videos over the next 6 months. There may be only 5 or 6 videos in total about tips and suggestions that I think might be beneficial for you if you're going through the process building a new home, or you're buying a home that's in a big subdivision or a tract development like we are. So let's go around and check out a few things, and I'll give you some insight on what I think you should pay attention to. First thing I'd really encourage you to do is get out here when they're doing the forms before they pour the concrete for the foundation, and take photos of all the plumbing areas. For example, I'll show you. This is kind of like a mud room, and that's the garage, and this is going to be the kitchen area. And here, if you go to the model home, there's a countertop here that goes all the way across with cabinets and storage, and a nice window here. And then we've got the pantry over here. But the builder wanted approximately, which is crazy, like $800 or $900, almost $1,000 to basically put a sink in right here. And what I came to realize is that, and this is true with most model homes, most tract developments, when they're building, you know, production homes, and they're building a lot of homes, is that the plumbing is already there. The drain is there. You know, a lot of times they may not have a buyer at the point of when they're doing the foundation or framing, and so they want to have that option to have that upgrade to sell them down the road. But if you take photos and you know exactly where the plumbing, for example, the drain is here. They haven't done the water yet, so I'll be back to take photos of all the water lines they run. But there's going to be water running along this wall, and then they've got a drain right there, as I pointed out earlier. And so after we move in, after we finish the purchase, I'm going to put a drain in here. The other thing too is that if you've seen my videos, I love to have a sink in the garage. I have a sink in the garage now where we're at. It was something I put in after the fact. But getting here early, taking pictures of all the drains that are currently in place. There's actually 2 clean out lines along the edge of the garage here that I can tap into to use as a drain. And then we're gonna have a tankless water heater on the wall here. And that tankless water heater is going to have water going to it, and obviously that's going to be my source for water. And I'll be putting a sink, a garage sink in this vicinity. And I can't tell you how nice it is to have a sink. Hey buddy, to have a sink in the garage. You know, Erika, years ago, I'd have a little paint project and I'd use the kitchen sink. It'd drive her crazy. So you have a sink in the garage, a plastic sink, and you can do whatever you want. Ethan, don't do that. Ethan. These kids, man, you gotta keep an eye on them, because Erika's actually out of town right now for work. So I'm just down here, I'm trying to shoot this video, and these 2 knuckleheads are always gotta keep an eye on them. Construction sites are not very good for children. So bottom line is, we're gonna put a sink in the garage here. We're gonna put a sink in the mudroom area over here. And then the other thing I think is really, really important, I remember a framer I was working with a few years ago mentioned this to me, and I didn't really think much of it at the time, but I took his suggestion, and I can't tell you how much value that suggestion has brought with me, especially on the last house that we're living in. And that is, when you get to the framing stage, before they start enclosing everything, before they start putting drywall up on all the walls, go into every room and take photos. And you can't have enough photos. On the last house, I wish I would have taken even more photos. Go into every room and literally take like an elevation photo, you know, north, and label them. North, east, west, south, you know, however, whatever makes sense for you. Go into each room. This is bedroom number 1. Take a video if you want to take a video. I think photos work really well because then you can, if you want, you can print some 8.5 by 11 size images, create a 3-ring binder, or just keep them in a digital album online. And the reason is, I can't tell you how many times that I've referred to those photos for miscellaneous projects around the house.
Right there.
Stop, guys. I can't tell you how many times I've referred to those photos around the house. You know, this for example, that's the wall we're going to be hanging a TV. You know, you want to put the TV on the wall and you don't want to just use drywall hangers. You want to really make sure it's anchored in there, it's not going anywhere. You can pull up that photo and you can find exactly where the studs is. And I know people will say, well, you know, use a stud finder and just go every 16 inches you'll find a stud. But the reality is, sometimes you have walls that are shear panels, sometimes you have studs that are not at 16 inches, depending on the dimensions. It'll really make your life so much easier if you can just pull up a photo and go up to the wall, measure it off, and know exactly what you're working. Like if you have a 2x4 behind there, if you have a 2x6, maybe it's a shear panel that you have there so you don't have as much meat to dig into, and you think you're digging into a stud, but you're really not. It'll make a huge difference. We're also going to be doing, you know, with new construction, builders are constantly trying to sell you upgrades. And one of the things that was a little disappointing about this home is the cost with putting in recessed lighting. So we're just going to do the basic recessed lighting that comes with the home. And then I've got a great electrician that's going to come through here, and for about 20% of what the builder was going to charge, we're going to have to cut up some walls and some drywall and do some patching. But in the long run, it's going to be well worth the expense and the hassle. But having photos of all the ceilings and all the joists and knowing exactly where I can run cabling for all the electricity and where we have electricity that we could tap into, it's going to be a huge time saver. All that drywall gets buttoned up, everything gets closed off, and you can make it work, but it's going to be a little bit more of a hassle. This big bedroom, you have a big bedroom up here. You can have a bed over here and a bed over there, and then Daddy's gonna build a fun little fort right there.
What?
Daddy's gonna build a little fort right there.
Wait, right here?
Yeah.
Yay!
Yeah.
Yay for me, yeah?
Yeah. And the reason, for example, I am gonna do like a little loft area right here between these windows. And so just having a photo of knowing exactly what I've got to work with here and what I've got on the ceiling, because I will be anchoring the 2 posts on the edges, I believe, to the ceiling instead of
gonna break the whole house.
having it run down to the ground. It's gonna make my life a lot easier knowing what's up here. Another thing too is that in the models they had a really nice railing over here, so, and over along this wall. We didn't do that upgrade, so they're putting in this pony wall, but I'm gonna, my plan is to take this pony wall down, remove it, and then basically continue the railing that they're gonna do that comes standard, and continue it on here using a carpenter that I know does great work, and we'll do it at a fraction of the price from what the builder was gonna charge. The last thing I was gonna mention too is that, you know, a lot of times, like I said, we've got our sink is gonna go over here, and there was an additional option to do a sink in the island, and we didn't take that option because they wanted like $1,500 just for that sink. And the plumbing is all here. We have a nice little conduit that's going to be running across here for electrical, and then we've got a drain, and then we're gonna have water. So, you know, if you didn't have that photo and you just moved in, you'd never know that that stuff was there. But if you do, and even if you're watching this video and you don't really know what you're looking at, like you're just a little green when it comes to the process of building a home, just take photos of everything. Because if you hire a plumber or electrician to come in, you say, hey, I've got photos of the whole house when it was being framed, it'll probably save you some money. And if you have any interest, this is our backyard. We have a decent sized backyard. We actually waited for this phase because it backs up to the canyon, and this particular model and layout, just because if you look at some of the others, they only have like 20-25 feet behind the backyard, whereas we have about 65 feet from that corner to the post over here. Then we have about 40 feet from this side. So our plan is to do a pool back here and barbecue area. Sometimes if you're looking at a new development, you may want to ask them about future phases, just to look for unique lot locations, specific lots that may be larger. There might be a little bit of a premium on that, but sometimes the premium is not as much as you would think, and you can get something where you're not going to have any neighbors behind you, or you're going to have a bigger lot. Something to keep in mind. And one of the last things I'll mention at this phase is another reason why I like to take photos and have video of the framing is that you have sometimes little nooks and crannies that exist but you don't even know exist. Like this, for example, on the right is going to be our hall closet, and then we've got some dead space under here underneath the stairs. So I might just open up one of these 2x4s and create a little door there, and maybe turn this into like some additional, maybe a little toy storage area. I don't know, you can get kind of unique. Side you could access from this side. I'm sure you've seen on Pinterest, sometimes people will create big drawers that come out from underneath the stairs, and so you can create some additional storage area by knowing where some of these pockets exist. And sometimes the pockets exist up high, especially like out in the garage if you want to find spots for additional storage. Alright, so those are just a few of the things that I think are important when you're going through the framing stage. I'm going to do a series of videos over the next 6 months, not a lot, another handful of videos of other things that I'll keep an eye on. And then once we move in, some of the upgrades that we'll do that we didn't do with the builder, because you can do them on your own and save a lot of money, and they're not that difficult to do. It's just a matter of finding good subcontractors that you can trust and depend on. So hopefully you enjoyed that video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and we'll check in with you with the next video.
Say that we're not too excited because we still have to save our money about if we want another house.
Yeah, we gotta work hard.
So we need to do the house we're doing right.